I'm Dickie Carr, and I'll bet you'd never guess where I am. I'm right in the centre of London at London Zoo. As I look around me, right behind me is the Lord Snowdon Aviary. Now, being a fisherman like most of us, I love the wildlife aspect of fishing, and to be able to look up and see so many different birds is an absolute pleasure to me. And across on the far bank we've got the compounds where we've got antelopes and funny sort of animals like goats. But being Dickie, I'm not even going to try and tell you what they are. The towpath is absolutely spotlessly clean, which is a credit to the British waterways and of course the local councils. They seem to realise that so many people use the towpath. Today I'm going to try and catch a few fish on the bread punch. I've just caught one, and it's such a cheap way to fish. It will cost me well under £1 today to have a good day's sport. But let's have a look at the tackle that I'm going to use today. The pole I'm using is actually a 6 metre pole, but I'm using 4 metres to end, and the 4 metres I'm using are actually telescopic, which you can see. But the other 2 joints that I've got, which makes it up to 6 metres, are put in, just in case I want to go out a bit farther. But let's forget about those and concentrate on the pole. As you can see, it is a bit, well, to say the least, it's a little bit tatty. The varnish is coming off, but it's been a good pole to me. I've caught a lot of fish on it and I enjoy using it, and that's what it's all about. But let's get down to see, because a lot of people seem to say, how do you connect the line? What's the best way to connect the line onto a flick tip? Well, I've got a nice little easy method, really simple. If I throw the line out, that way we're going to get in no tangles, and take the pole behind me. Did you notice I had a quick look round just to make sure there was nobody walking along the bank, no bites coming along? We lay it there safely, and if I hold it up, you can see I've got what is called, it's a stompo connector. There's a special name for it, but I can't even remember what it is. In fact, I probably can't even say it. But when I go into the tackle shop, I know what I'm looking for. If you look, it's just a little bit of plastic that pushes onto the tip of the flick tip. We glue it on, and there's a little groove at the top, and the line comes up. Now, if I pull this little bit here, just give it a little gentle pull, it's off. It's easy as that. Now, how do we connect it, you're saying? Well, that's quite simple too. What I've got here, I've got 2 loops. I've got one big loop which is probably 3 inches long, then ½ an inch from the top I've tied another loop. All you need to do is hold the bigger loop in between your 2 fingers and pass the line through. When you pass the line through, I'm just going to take the pole down a little bit because it is awkward holding it up in the wind. Just a nice little gentle pull. Make sure it goes in the groove. Nearly there. And it's on. And you can see you can pull really hard and it won't come off, but when you want it off again, just so simple, just pull the top loop and it's off. I know when I first started to use it, I honestly thought it would, I hope that don't come off when I'm fishing, but I can honestly say I've never had it come off while I've been fishing. Just put it back on again. So it's as simple as that. It doesn't take a moment. So now we go down more to the business end, but because I'm fishing bottom end to end, I want the line to go under the water. So what I've done, I'll hold the line again carefully, and as you can see, I've got the line back shotted with number 7 style leads. There's one there and there's one just up there. Now, why I chose style leads instead of number 10s or 11s is because they're longer and thinner and they go on the line neater and give you a much easier cast, and I think they make the line sink better. And I've got 3 of them in between the float and the tip of the pole, the flick tip, which is useful for when you want to sink the line, because sometimes you get a nasty skim on the water and you want to get everything down under, out the way, and that's when it's useful to have these little style leads back shotting. Now the float, as you can see, I've got an adapter on again. I do like to use adapters, but normally I like to put little pieces of silicone on the line, but today, because I'm using only number 4 shots, I can't put the silicone on and make the shots hold properly, so I've got no silicone today. But if it was bigger shots, I would definitely put the silicone on. The float is peacock with a little cocktail insert. It's a float that I got off Ray Mills and I'm very pleased with it. It's made a lot neater than I could make a float. So basically that's the float. I do too, if possible, only like to lock the float with just 2 shots because it's a lot neater. So now let's go down the line a little bit more. We come down to our style weights. Now, I've not got them spaced out normally like you have style weights spaced out. I've just got them probably a maximum of 15 inches from the hook to the top stiles. Now how I've got the stiles done, I've got 2 stiles, 4 inches below that I've got another 2 smaller stiles, 2 inches below that I've got a smaller stile, and another 2 inches below that I've got an even smaller stile. Below that we come to the hook length. Now I've got a very short hook length. It's probably about 6 to 8 inches long, and that hook length is 0.6 diameter line. It's the same as me other line, a nesty line, but in an 0.6 diameter, so that if I do happen to get caught on the bottom, when I pull, if I do happen to break, I only lose my hook length, and then it's just a matter of going to my box, I've got my hooks already tied, and just whipping another one on the same length. But I've still, have you noticed, no shots whatsoever on my hook length. Because when you use low diameter lines, if you start to squeeze shots onto them, or style weights, you do intend to weaken them slightly. So no shots on your hook length. Hooks. Now we come to hooks. Well, I myself think there's only 2 hooks that I like to use on the bread. One of them is what we call a kamikaze. Now, I probably haven't pronounced it properly, so I'm going to show you the packet to make it easy. Here we are. The number on the hook is 6311, and I like to use these in a size 20. They're a very fine hook, got a micro barb, and they're very sharp. And because they're fine, they're light. And again, presentation, as I've always liked to go on a little bit about, light hooks make the bait present better. But one little fault with these hooks, you have to be very careful when you're actually unhooking the fish, because they're a very brittle hook, but you can't have the best of both worlds. The other hook I'm going to talk about, I've got some here, is the Tubertini Series 2. Now these are a silver hook, where the one we've just been speaking about is a blue. These are slightly stronger hook, and I intend to use these Tubertini ones when I'm going to catch a lot of fish, when I'm catching quick, when I might be swinging fish to hand. than when I'm taking my time being really careful. So these are only the 2 hooks that I myself use on the bread punch. Now we've covered the fishing to aim with a telescopic pole. By the way, if I didn't mention it earlier, it is a Milo pole. So if I put the hook in the handle and lay it safely out of the way, what I intend to do now, before we go on to the other pole, my short line rig with my top and bottom floats, I'm just going to show you my layout. So I've placed the pole down. Now, as you can see, I've got my rod bag and my bait carrier on the edge of the path so that no wind or anything can blow anything in, and I can sit and relax, no worry about losing anything. The other thing is my bait stand. It's got adjustable legs so I can always get it dead even, which of course I've got no need to today, and it's got everything at hand. I've got all my little essentials that I'm going to need, my style weights, my hooks and my disgorgers, all my little bits and pieces that I might need. I've got my hemp seed, which I'm just going to feed a tiny bit later on when we start fishing. I've got my bread crumb, and now we come to the real business end, the end that we're the bread punches and my punch board. We'll have a quick look at my punches first. Now my punches, I've got 2 here, 2 different size ones, and also a couple of other screw-in attachments if I decide I want to use bigger or smaller punches. But these ones, I was lucky someone made them for me and gave them to me, one of my mates, Billy Hughes in fact, and they're very shallow, but there's a lot of punches in the shops. There's some very good punches about, ones that you can buy, reasonable price. But now, what makes a good punch? I think what makes a good punch, it's got to be shallow. And if you look at my punches, I would say they're no more than 1/8 of an inch in depth. Because they're so shallow, when you actually press them into the bread, give them a quick little twist round and take them out, and the bread is really pressed tightly into the punch. Sometimes I might even just press it with my finger. Oh, it's come out. Just press it with my finger, and then you get a nice, and it really is compressed. It's perfect for putting on the hook, and when you cast out, it doesn't come off. I can remember when I started punch fishing, the biggest trouble was the bread coming off, but with the shallow punches, it's cured it. So here's my 2 punches. I'll put them back. I've even got little holes round the side of my bread punch board to stick my punch in so I can get hold of them easy. So if I put that back, and then we come actually to the punch board himself. I'll take the bread punches off it and I'll show it to you. It's roughly the shape of a slice of bread. It's got my little holes in the side for putting my punches on, and it's very solid. You must have a firm base for when you punch your bread. So we put that down. I must admit, I have been laughed at a few times for this little bit of equipment, but I think it's a useful little item to have with you. Right, now let's get fishing. First thing we have to do is plumb the depth. So we'll just put, I'm not going to use a plummet because I've got such a nice soft flick tip. A plummet wouldn't be quite right, so I'm just going to use an SA shot. I'm just going to clip it onto the line, down to the hook, and I'm going to plumb the depth. Now, that's a little bit too shallow at the moment, so I'm going to come up, I'm going to put a little bit of depth on. I've got to take my time moving the shots because I've not got no silicone on there, so we'll do that. Out we go again. Then that's no, it's still just a little bit out. I thought I could just see the float under the surface. If I just go another couple of inches, Out we go again. We should be about right now, I reckon. Yeah, if you see, I'm looking and the float's not showing, but I can just see the float about 2 inches under the water, and that's what you want. When you fish the bread punch, it's one of the few baits that we don't start on the bottom with. I like to start normally about 2 inches off bottom, and then I either go up or down depending on whether I slow down, or just depends on how the fish are behaving, on how I alter the depth. But normally 2 inches is good starting depth, 2 inches off bottom. So if we take the shot off, put that down, I'm just going to hook in the end of the pole a second, because I'm just going to show you my ground bait. Put that in between my legs. Now the ground bait, I've wetted it very, very gently, just added a little bit of water to it, mixed it in, and to make sure there was no lumps, because you don't want no lumps in it because it might fill the fish up a little bit quicker, I just run it through a sieve. I just shook it through a sieve, and any lumps that were left in I threw onto the towpath, and it didn't take long before the birds were down eating them, which today I must admit I've had cold ticks, robins, everything eating the crumbs that I put on the towpath, so it's nice to see the birds getting a feed as well. The ground bait, as I said, it's very dry and been sieved, just a little bit of water in with it. If I throw it down the edge, you'll see it's floating for just a second. Now it's gone down, and as it's going down it's breaking up. It's breaking into a lovely cloud. How can the fish resist that, eh? Right, let's see if we can catch something now. Here we are. I've got my nice punch ball that I mentioned, nice and solid. Twist it round. Out of my 2 punches, I'm starting off on the smallest of the 2 punches. My particular punches have got no grooves in them, and I just twist the punch round and the bread comes out nicely on the hook. Just push it round. That's lovely. Put it back in its groove. Out we go. Now I've cast out, I've got the line, and I've just touched the tip of the pole under the water, just a quick little jerk, and all the line's under now. It's all away from the skim and any ripple, and it makes the float stay nice and still. One thing I have learned when I've buried a line, sometimes if the line's dead straight, it's harder to sink than when there's a slight bow on it. Why? I don't know, but it always sinks easier when it's a slight bow on it. Right, let's see if we can catch. We just get a small piece of ground bait, not too big. I'm going to try and put it just round me float. See how accurate I can feed. Just right. See, it just floated for a little while, and now it goes down. One thing I will mention about punch fishing. Punch fishing differs in the way to other methods of fishing, that you always catch fish straight away on punch. How I look at it, if you don't catch a fish normally in the first 5 or 10 minutes, you're not going to catch one. And it's funny how this punch method works like that. Do you know, I believe I had a touch just then, I did. Look at that, amazing. Here we come. Hey, amazing. That's not been in the water no more than a minute, and we go and catch one. It's only a little fish, but it's amazing. I'm just sitting here saying, you get a fish straight away. We'll start off again, another whole bit of punch. Sometimes I just touch it with the top of my thumb, just like that. Up the centre of the hook, spin it round. Let's go, out we go again. Out we go. Again, just the tip of the rod, just a little jerk, and the line's out the way. Normally, when we fish in the winter, with feeding, you normally just put two balls in at the start and you don't feed. Where Whereas last year you used to keep feeding all the time, but I don't know what it is. I think so many people using the punch now that you need to lose less bait than you normally do. Oh, there's another bite. Look at this. Can't believe it. They're like peas in a pod, aren't they? Hey? God dear. Just give me hands a wipe on my towel. Out we go again. What I'm going to do in a moment, I'm going to have one more cast with this. Twist it round. Out it come. I'm going to have one more cast, and then I'm going to put use my bigger punch and put a bigger piece of bread on and see if we can catch a bigger fish. There's a bit of commotion behind me. Ha, an elephant! I reckon it's looking for the circus somewhere. I reckon I must have been over a leaf there. Let's just go out again. Don't always remember, just a little gentle flick, and I'm just going to feed a couple of grains of hemp. Just a couple of grains. There we go. Just taking his settings now. Oh, I thought I had a bite. No, the bread's still okay. Out we go again. Gentle little pull back. Just put a little weeny piece more crumb round the float. There we are. Now we're ready. It's a lovely way to fish, this is. I do really enjoy the old bread punch fishing. Over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, the bread punch has really come onto its own on the London canals. Seems to be one of the most popular methods and one of the best methods to fish at the moment. I don't know if a lot of it's to do with the price of bread and how cheap everything is to come, but I just enjoy this sort of fishing. I really do. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit bigger, that one, just slightly bigger. Since we caught that one a little bit bigger, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my slightly bigger punch. So we use the bigger punch, but a little trick now, because I'm going to use a bigger punch, the old bread intends to be a little bit heavy, and because we've got the floats dotted down so low, we have to sometimes, if we put a big piece of punch on, it'll just sink the float under the water. So here's one of my little tricks. Go to my stand, and I've got a tin of Vaseline. Now, all I do, I don't touch the Vaseline with my hands, I just stick the float tip into the Vaseline, just like that. That's all I need to do, and that Vaseline will make that float that little bit more buoyant, and the big punch won't sink it out of sight. Other times, even when I'm not using bread punch, if I'm using other baits and there's a nasty ripple on the water, that's another time when I'll put a little bit of Vaseline on my bristle. Right, let's see if we can catch a bigger fish on the bigger punch. Whoops, that one came out in my hand. There we go. That's it. All being well, we might catch a bigger fish now. Out we go. Just a gentle little jerk, just get the line out of the way. Couple of grains of hemp. Round the float. And the float's just taking his settings now. There we go. Come on, fish, feed. Look at that, here comes some ducks along. We've got everything here today, haven't we? We've got the bird aviary behind us. I've got funny animals in front of me. I'm not even going to say what they are. Ducks round me float. What more could we want? There's another. That's it. That was a bite. It's just a slightly bigger one. I'm just going to put the net under this one because I don't want to lose it. Sometimes if the fish come off when you swing them, you get nasty tangles, so it's a lot safer to use the net. If you notice, I've only got a little net because when I'm catching these little fish, I don't like a big net going into the water making a disturbance. Let's unhook it. In she goes. Just give me hands a quick wipe, because if your old hands get too damp, it can make the old bread a bit sticky. The bread's drying out a little bit. Just let me get myself a fresher piece of bread. It's amazing really. The bread, if you leave it out too long, it dries a little bit. And once it dries, it doesn't stay on the hook so well. So I keep it all wrapped up nice. Put that back where it was. There we go again. That's better. Go. There we go. Little dip of the rod, get the line buried. Just give a little weeny touch of ground bait again this time. One of the advantages of the canals here is it's nice and deep. We've just had a narrow boat go by and there's no mud come up off the bottom at all. There's no doubt about it. They've done a great job on the canals here, and I'm more than happy. Oh, now we'll just go out a little bit further again. Bread's still on. Out we go. Just dip the line under. A couple of grains of hemp. Just take, you see, when you fish these bottom end floats, you can see them, you can see the shots going down, and if you do get a bite on the drop, you can always notice it. But it's just starting to rain a little bit now. I thought the weather was too good. Come on fish, feed. We know there's plenty of you down there. Oh, here we go. Another one. Not quite as big as last time. Still a lovely little roach. Beautiful little fish. Let's unhook it gently and pop it into the net. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm just in case later on I'm going to have a go on the longer pole, top and bottom, I'm going to put a little piece of bread a bit further across. Because of the distance, I'm not going to throw it. I'm going to put it over with a cup so I know exactly where it is. So just put this down a minute. Here we are. There's my cup. That cup there, that's the bottom of a fairy liquid bowl. It's nice and big. I can get a ball, I can drop it into the bowl, and there's no chance of me when I'm going out there shaking it off. How I've got it connected, make sure, have a look round, make sure there's no people about. All I've got here really is a piece of glass going through the bottom of the washing up liquid bowl, bit of iodite and a bit of glass that pushes over my top joint. Simple as that. Push it on. Now it's nice and deep. I'll make sure I don't shake it off anywhere else. I'll put it out gently. Pick my other pole up. Bring it in. If we go out very, very slowly, as we're going a bit further across the canal now, I've got the pole in between my legs so I know exactly how far I'm out. I'll just twist the pole over gently. There's the crumb. See it floating on top? Then just take the pole back. Quick look each way, make sure there's nobody running along the bank. I don't want to hit anybody with a pole, and at the same time I don't want to damage my pole. Now, I've got this cup fitted on the top 4 sections of my pole, and my other rig that I hope to use on it is 4 sections of my pole as well. So I know that if I put the pole right in the middle of my legs, I should be in exactly the same place as I've tipped my ground bait, and I don't even have to have a marker. Right, put that there. Now let's pick this pole up again, and we'll have another throw with it. But what I intend to do, we'll put a bit of bait on. We use the big punch again. Put the braid on. Twist it round. I intend to show you how I cast it. All I do, I hold it in between my 2 fingers and just to pull dead straight up above my head, and a nice gentle little overhead throw. And that way I haven't got to worry about anybody walking behind me or catching anybody. Then, oops, gentle little whip to get the line out of the way, and we're ready for action again. What I do, I just put a little piece more crumb in by hand. As they definitely seem to be responding to the crumb. There's so many fish in this canal. It's incredible, really. Oh, that was lovely. Right round the float. Let's wait, see if we can get another fish now. I'd love to be able to look under the water and just see exactly how many fish there are actually round that area where I'm putting this ground bait. There's so many fish in these canals at the moment. Oops, here we go. Cool, that's a little one. I reckon that signals to go on the long pole double rubber. Let's unhook it nice and gently. Lovely little roach. Put it in the net. Down we go. Now let's have a go on the long pole. See if we can get any better fish. We might not, because sometimes you get some swims where all the fish are the same size, and other swims where you catch all big ones. But we'll have a little go, see if we can catch a few better ones on the double rubber. Let's put that down safely out of the way and pick up the other pole. Here we are. Now, before we go any further and start fishing with it, I'll show you how I've got it all set up. The pole I'm using is one with my name on. It's the Dickie Carr Triana pole, and it's a very light pole, very stiff, and I'm pleased with it. So I won't say too much about it, but it's nice stiff action and it's very light. Let's have a look at the top end, how I've got the line attached to the pole. I'll throw it in the water out of the way. Again, I've had a quick look each way just to make sure that there's nobody coming along the bank. And I'm going to turn the pole to the side because I can see a bike coming along, and he seems to be travelling at a rather high speed, so I'll lay the pole down the side. How I've got the line connected is with a stompo, but what I've done, I've got a spare top, exactly how one that I take with me, exactly the same. It's all off the same pole, and what I like to do is have different strengths elastic in my tops, and then if I need be, I just change the tops on the pole. Now, it's only 15 inches, and myself, I only like to have the elastic through the top 15 inches of the pole, the top joint, and that way I don't think you bounce so many fish. There's not so much chance of the elastic hanging out the pole, which it does, but there is a little trick for that which I'll show you in a moment. I've got the line connected with a little stompo. I've normally just put it in my mouth and pull it out. That's a little stompo connector. It's just a little loop where I just put the line down, and that fits neatly into the end of the pole, and the other end is another little stompo connector. Very easy. When you want to put the line on, you push it down, hook the line through the groove, and then just push the connector back in position again, and the line's completely safe. Now, before I go any further and start to talk about the actual fishing, as I said earlier, the worst thing that can happen is for the line, the elastic, to hang out the end of the pole. When it does, it wraps round and it makes it hard. So what I do with mine, I pull this top off, and there's a liquid out now called slip. You can buy it in most tackle shops. I've got some on my tray here handy. What I do, that's what it's called, slip. And quite honestly, it's one of the best things to come out, especially for us pole anglers. All I do is get a little bit and I just squirt, let a few drops go in the pole, like that. Put the top back on. Let the connector go back, and you'll find that makes it really slip nice and easy. That's why it's called slip. Right, before we go off the elastic, I'll just mention the different elastics. When I bread punch fish, I use a soft elastic because we're only after little fish, and once you've got a soft elastic you just don't bounce so many. Now if I was going to fish with casters for bigger fish, I've used a medium elastic, and then in the summer when we're after the tension of carp on the canals, I use the heavy elastic, but that's the only time. But today all we're interested in is bread punch, and that's the light elastic, lovely and soft. Now we've done the pole and the pole elastics. Let's get down the line to the business end. The line is what I always like to use, is a Nesty Special 08. Now we come to the float. Put the pole behind me, make sure the pole's not going to get in anybody's way. Now there's the float. It's an Nesty float. It's what we call an 010. It's an absolute, well, how pleased I am with this float, I can't say. For canal fishing, it's just outstanding. And I can remember when they first came into England, Glenn Brown went over the moon about them. He's a float maniac, and whenever he sees me using one, here we can hear the old sirens going, the law are after someone. There they go. He says, I told you how good they were. But before we go on to the actual float, let me just show you. I've got a rubber there and a rubber on the bottom. The reason I've got the two rubbers on is just in case one of them breaks, then I don't have to reconnect up, I'll push the other one down. So two rubbers on the float and through the eye. It's a nice slim float, which when there's no flow, you can see every movement on the float, and it's a 4 number 12. And if we go down further, down to the shotting pattern, the real business end, let's hope it's not caught in the keep net. No, our luck's with us today. If I put it in between my legs, it makes it easy for you to see the shotting pattern. What I've got there, I've got a bunch of number 11s, 5 number 11s, and I've got 2 telltale shots. Now why have I got shots instead of Olivet, you might say? I do use Olivets from 1/2 gram onwards, but anything under 1/2 gram, you're so much better off using shots. It's cheaper, but that's not the main reason for doing it. The reason is, if for example the fish behaving in a different way and want the bait another way, you just alter the shots. You can alter 1 at a time, 2 at a time. So it gives you a much more variation with your tackle. As you can see, I'm very careful how I squeeze my shots onto my line. I'll make sure never to squeeze them too hard so that I can't move them, but the other main reason, you don't want to damage the line. And again, I'm bread punch fishing about 15 inches from hook to shots. Just 2 number 11s, all the same size shots as my dropper shots. And then we come to my small hook length. Again, about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches of an 06 line, so that if I do get caught up, I only lose my hook length and I don't use my float. So that's me tackle for fishing the long pole. Nice and simple. To be honest, no chance of it tangling, So let's get down and have a couple of casts out and see if we can catch some bigger fish on this rig. I'm going to start off again with the smaller of my 2 punches. Put the hook on. The hook I'm using is the one that I have a job to pronounce, the Kamikaze, number 20. And we go round. Now, a little while back, you see me, I put 2 cups of crumb over on the far side. I'm not going to feed that again, because sometimes when you're after bigger fish on the canals, they don't seem to want bait on their heads all the time. So I'm hoping that that ground bait that we put out probably half hour or so ago is laying there, and a few fish have got the confidence up and they're actually feeding on it. So I'm definitely not going to put nothing on top of their heads. Right, let's have a go out. I'll have a quick look each way down the canal. Nobody about, so I'll get me pole. Put it in and feed it out. Normally I would have a pole roller behind me, but owing to, as you can see, we've got the concrete bank, there's nowhere to place it, so I've got to be extra careful today how I go. Out we go. As I said before, I'm going to put the pole in between my legs, and now I know that that float is exactly where my ground bait went. We sit there and just hope now if we can get a bite. To be honest, I'm expecting to get a bite within the first 2 or 3 minutes of the bait being out there. As I said earlier, that's just how it works with a punch. You get bites very, very quick. There's a bite. Oh, it's another little fish. There we come. Lovely. Unhook it gently. God, that was just in the edge of the mouth. It's amazing how that hook held on. Back we go. Pop it in the net. Let's go out there again. Let's go out there again. That weren't as big as I was expecting on this rig, but at least it's a fish. We'll put the back in the same place, pole in between my legs. You just couldn't be more accurate than that, could you? Hold it dead still. I've got a slightly longer line today than I would normally have. There's no wind or nothing, so we can hold the float dead still. And sometimes though, if the canal was crystal clear, and then I would fish a long line. But if it was really windy, I'd probably go down to 18 inches. Come on, fish. See if we can get another bite. We shouldn't have to wait too long. There we go again. Here we are. This is a better one. It feels it. Yeah, it is. It's a nice fish. Well, when I say a nice fish, it's nice for today. Nobody about. In we come, nice and careful. Lay the rod down gently because we don't want to damage the end of the pole. I was going to net it, but I changed my mind. I'll swing it. Here we are. Unhook it nice and gently. Come here. And out we go again. Just going to give my hand a wipe, get rid of any slime. There we go. What I find when you're using the punch, as you push the punch into, if you just give it a little twist round like that, you'll find it cuts through the bread neater and it comes out on the punch nice. In we go with the hook again, twist it round again and off it comes out nicely. Ready for action again. Out we go, pick up the pole, feed it out, pop it down. This is great. I'm sitting here, I'm looking across at my float, and as I'm looking at my float, we've got all these lovely animals opposite. It's quite amazing, really. Oh, you're so happy sitting here like this. I just couldn't think of nothing better to be doing. Now look, we're getting another bite already. There's a little inquiry around the float. There's no doubt about it, these floats do work well on these canals. It's had a look at it and it's gone away. I'll come back. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just give the float a little lift. I'm going to lift the float up and let it drop again. I know the bait's 2 inches off bottom. There she goes, just a little bite. It must just be the fish. Just see the bait move up and down and follow it. Here we go, go on. Here we go, another fish. Oh, it's another nicest fish. They're rather like peas in a pod, these ones. They're all roughly the same size, but the elastic, you can see even this soft elastic, it's a little fish like this, it's coming out the pole 2 or 3 inches, nobody about. And we go, swing it. Oh, it's even littler. Right, what I'm going to do now, unhook this one, put it in the net gently. I'm going to just hook that on there a minute. I'm going to use a little bit bigger punch. So like I've done before when on the other rig, I'm just going to dip it quick in the Vaseline. It won't take a second. If I don't, and I put the big punch on with the fine bristle, I shan't see the bite at all. There we go. Let's get out there. There we come. Like the bigger punch this time, see if we can get a bigger fish. A little press. On we go, just twist the punch round. Oop, that's not come out very well. That's it. There we are. Away we go. Nice sized piece of punch on there this time. Let you throw it out. And out we go. Right, let's see if we can catch a fish on this. What I must mention, what I haven't mentioned today, is power cables. Now, today we use poles. Well, I have actually got a pole with me extensions on this one that goes up to 16 metres. But the average pole is 11 and 12 metres now. And you just don't realise quite how high that is. It's higher than most houses, so you just got to stress the importance of power cables. There's been so many people hurt with these power cables that you've got to look everywhere. You must always look either side of you and in front of you, but one of the places, the most important places to look is behind you. Today we look behind, we've got the aviary, but you could be cables behind, so I must stress the importance of looking around you anytime, no, even if there's no signs up. I know at the moment the NFA, along with Swan Vesta, who are sponsoring it, have spent a lot of money on putting up signs telling you where danger, telling you to be careful, but always look for yourself just in case. Oh, that looks like a bite. Hold on. Oh, yeah, I think that's a fish. Yes, that's a fish. In we come. Oh, don't look too bad. How big's this one? I would just put the net under it, just be safe. It's not very big, but just pop the net under it. In we come. I wish I hadn't popped the net under it now. The hook's just gone and caught in the edge of the net. That's when it's handy to have my scissors. Come here. Right. Here we go with the net. Be honest, I think I made a little bit of a mess up of that. I'd have been better off just swinging it. The hook's in its mouth really well. Coming out you come. There we come. Fish in the net. Now let's go out again. Give my hands a quick wipe. Big punch. Give it a little press in, make it nice and firm. And out we come. There we go. Out we go again. Let's see if we can catch another one. In we go. It settles. Now I haven't mentioned what bread I use. Now I like a thick slice. I think a thick slice compresses a lot more than the medium or the thin slice. So always use a thick sliced. And steaming it. Now that's important. One of the most important things with punch fishing. What I do, I've been bathed in the kitchen because I steam up the window and the tiles, so I get relegated to my shed. All I do, I boil the kettle up and hold the bread on a knife over the steam just for about 15 seconds each side. When I've done the 4 slices, the first 2 I cut in half and put them in a polythene bag, so I've got 4 slices wrapped away. The other 2 I roll with a rolling pin, not too hard, just roll them reasonably firm, cut them in half and pop them in a polythene bag, and that's enough for a day's fishing. Right, let's have a look at the steamed bread, just how I'll wrap it up. As you see, I've already used a couple of slices a day, but I just put 4 slices in a bag like that and put it in my bag ready. The other 4 slices, they're the ones, you can just see them, the ones that I rolled. Sometimes if I decide to fish the waggler, or if I have anything time when the bread keeps coming off the hook, then I use the rolled bread. But the other thing I've got to show you is the liquidised bread. Got the liquidised bread, and it doesn't even need wetting, the liquidised bread. If you just throw it in the edge, you can see it floats lovely, and as it sinks it all breaks up. And all this is, what we call liquidised bread, is bread that's normally a day or 2 old, and all you need to do is just put it in liquidiser and liquidise it up, put it in a bag and fetch it like this. And for actual fishing on the punch, a lot of people prefer it to any other crumb. It is very good. I use both myself. I use the coarse white crumb and I use the liquidised. I use a little bit of each. So put that down. Oh, looks like a bite. I'll have to be pretty quick this one. I can just see a boat coming along. Oh, look at that. I'll time that just right. Just got it out just before the boat came along. Nice little roach, probably 1.5 ounces. Let's unhook it gently. Into the net we go. Thank you. That's nice when the boats slow down for you like that, because there's plenty of room on the canal for both of us, and that was nice, that was. Out we go again. We're still using the bigger punch. Just a quick look, make sure there's no one coming along. I looked up and I see a bite coming in the distance, so if I get another quick bite, I'll have to remember to have a quick look round. Out we go. I'm just going to flick a few grains of hemp. I'll have to just fire a few grains of hemp with the catapult. Just a couple of 3, that's all. Just round the float. Whoops. Oh, here we go. There's another one. Oh, look at the old elastic. That's lovely. It's only a small fish, but the elastic's pulled out a few inches. They seem to be feeding very well now, the fish. That bite just went past earlier on, so I was lucky. Cool, it's a nice fish. I should have really netted it. Let's pop it in the net. Off we come. Nice and gently in the net. Now, just give my hands a quick wipe. Just with the bigger punch, I just press it with my finger. That really makes it nice and compact. Twist the hook. On it comes. Out there again. And we go. I'm just going to put a couple more grains of hemp in because I've got to bite straight away. The hemp I've cooked. When I'm using hemp with bread, it's the only thing I do put in when I use bread. Just a couple of grains, probably only 360 grains. I like to have it well cooked so that there's plenty of white showing. Well, every time I go fishing I believe you learn something, and I've had a fantastic day today. Well, I've been 5 minutes now without a bite, and I can hear the old animals making noises, just like my cats do at home when they're getting ready for tea. And to be honest, I feel a bit peckish myself, so I think it's getting near time to call it a day. Let's have a quick look each way, as usual, make sure there's nobody else coming on the towpath. Down with the pole. Grab the line. I'm going to put the hook safely in the end of the pole. This is where the old elastic's at, and just a nice little bit of elastic comes out, keeps it nice on the pole. No way that's going to tangle up. Put that down. So let's have a look what we've caught today. Let's move my seat out of the way, and here we go. Here we come. That's not a bad day's sport. Let's put them back nice and careful. That's not bad at all. Not bad. Away they go. Lovely. Off you go. Oh, that was all little roach, but that cost me less than £1. These inner city canals at the moment are solid with fish. If any of you happen to see me on the bank, just come up to me, say, "Hello, Dickie," and if there's anything I can do for you, any advice, I'm more than willing to help you, because I enjoy talking to people.